Great book, Rich Podolsky, Don Kirshner, the man with the golden ear. By the way, Jerry had mentioned through the show that that Kirshner was so significant with the Monkees. He was also significant with another group at the time. Take a listen.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy.
Now, the group, by the way, was not just cartoon. They were in real life. But those were the Archies?
The Archies, and that lead singer was Ron Dante, who was one of the demo singers and songwriters for Don Kirshner's Alden Music stable of writers. And when Kirshner sold his company in 1963 to Columbia Screen Gems, he became the man in charge of a new TV show for them called The Monkees. And he already had Davy Jones under contract. He helped get the rest of the Monkees. And his job was to provide 2 songs a week for the show.
That's how I did the Monkees.
And unfortunately, the Monkees grew to really detest Kirshner. Kirshner was getting a ton of publicity in those days. They never got along. And eventually, they got Kirshner fired, even though every song he gave them was either number 1 or number 2. They put out 2 albums. They were both huge million sellers. But Kirshner eventually got fired, and he wound up starting his own group with the cartoon show of Archie and Veronica called the Archies.
Is that what we just saw?
We just saw that, yeah. And what his line was, he said he wanted a group that couldn't talk back.
How about that? You don't have to have any grief from cartoon characters, do you?
You know, it's a great story about Kirshner. You know, there's a group out of Philadelphia called the Soul Survivors. #1 record, Expressway to Your Heart. Well, I was involved with the record label. Kirshner calls me. I'm in Puerto Rico at the Carib Hilton. He says, I want to buy the master. It's a smash in Philadelphia. Because he had just gone with RCA Victor for his new label. And the guys I were involved with said, no, we're going to have a national record. Case in point, after the Soul Survivors Expressway, no other hit, because you couldn't get paid with your distributors unless you had clout back in those days.
What was his personal life like? Did he have a personal life? Did he have a family? Or
Well, Sheila, right?
His wife, Sheila, of 50 years, he never smoked, he never drank, he didn't even drive. He was just dedicated to his business and his songs and his family. He had 2 children. His older son is Ricky. He's a famous TV director and producer today of live events. And his daughter is named Darren, after Bobby Darin.
Really?
Yeah. And
grandchildren?
he's got several grandchildren, and he really was a dedicated guy to his wife, his family, and his business. And unfortunately, in the later years, he really couldn't get another good business going. He tried to get
Was he financially successful, I presume?
He was very, the TV show made him millions. He sold his company for $3 million in 1963, which is like $50 million today. And he also got the big job running everything for them for the equivalent of today's $1 million a year.
We have a picture of Kirshner with Neil Sedaka now. I remember as a teenager in high school, Neil Sedaka's songs.
Oh, Carol.
Oh, Carol. And, it was
Breaking Up is hard to do.
It was interesting because it was kind of a high voice, a very high voice. And yet, as time went on, we found out that Neil Sedaka was a music giant in his own way.
Do you know he sang with the Tokens, the group called the Tokens? Dum dum dee dum dum dum.
Before Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Right. And he played chimes on Church Bells May Ring. Dum dum dum. Church bells may ring.
You want to do that again?
Play chimes. Church bells may ring. Dong 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 ding dong dong ding dong.
You know, if is Name That Tune still on the air somewhere? Because if it was, he'd win. But when you look at the history of Don Kirshner, it's kind of interesting. You know him. I know a little bit more about him now than I did. But he didn't have the sort of signature of a Dick Clark in terms of the nationwide fame and all that. And yet, his impact was fairly similar, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The man behind the scenes, I mean, this is the guy that was the brains. And as I said earlier, I think when he went on TV, he was not comfortable with that role, and I think that might have been one of the things. And I don't think he was accepted in the industry as a host.
We also have a picture here, by the way, and Rich, I know you're going to love this one. I want to also thank Popsy Randolph for providing these photos to us. We really appreciate that. Who is Popsy?
Well, Popsy is one of the great photographers back in those days. He's passed away, but his son is running the archives and provided all these photos for the book and today's show.
Okay, we bring this photo up, and you're going to tell, I know you're going to tell us about this photo.
This is,
and then Jerry can give us some background on it too.
This is the locomotion photo. From left to right is Kirshner and his partner Al Nevins. On the right side up at the top are Jerry Goffin and Carole King, the songwriters of the locomotion. And that's Eva Boyd down at the bottom.
Little Eva.
Known as Little Eva. Little Eva was Carole King and Jerry Goffin's nanny, babysitter, housekeeper. And as they were writing the song, well, what happened was Kirshner had said, we need a follow-up to Dee Dee Sharp's The Mashed Potatoes, like Jerry said earlier. And so they're trying to write a follow-up dance song, and as Jerry Goffin is writing the words, Little Eva's walking around the living room singing the song with them and doing this crazy dance number that was like a locomotive. And they called the song The Locomotion. They knew she could sing because she was from a gospel group in North Carolina, and she had relatives who were the Cookies. Which was a great backup group, and they sang the Goffin and King song called Chains. So they had Little Eva make the demo, which was very unusual. Carol usually made all the demos. They took the demo straight to Philadelphia to Bernie Lowe at Cameo Parkway. Bernie put it on the recorder, and he put the needle down. He listened for about 30 seconds. He said, "I don't hear the hook." They took it back to New York. Instead of shelving the record, Kirshner said, I'm going to start my own label, the Dimension label, and within a month, it was #1.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The modern generation has Lil Wayne and other Lils, L-I-L, and now we did have a Little Eva back in the time. Well, give me that Locomotion song. Give me a few bars.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance.
It was very big on music, wasn't it? I mean, very big on dancing. It was a big dance song.
Well, you see, Dick Clark.